Niall, great to have you with me on today's Spotlight. So let me introduce Niall Williams from ND Landscape Architects. Niall, over to you. Introduce us to your business, please.
Okay, so I'm from ND Landscape Architects, or NDLA for short. So we are landscape architects, and what we do is we help people through sort of the development process and the planning process. So we tend to look at things from a really high level in terms of sort of master planning, or how you might even approach a site if it's got constraints if you're trying to build something. But then also we go down to sort of looking at how people sort of experience things as well. So we've been involved with sort of campuses and looking at how people might be encouraged to come back to the office, how they might use offices differently, or campuses, or whatever it may be post-COVID. And now a lot of people are going back. But also we do a really wide range of things. So we've been involved in sort of the creation of large linear parks, to small garden designs, right up to planning, master planning for sort of 800 home new developments with big sort of parks and all this kind of thing too. So we do a huge variety of different projects.
So great. Thank you. What would you say makes you stand out from your competition?
Always an interesting question. I think for us, it's sort of the variety of things we do. I think a lot of people specialize or sort of focus their businesses in sort of more of a vertical way. But I think we're much more sort of lateral thinkers. How do we take a range of expertise and specialisms and sort of bring them together to manage projects and integrate solutions and infrastructure? So a lot of the projects we've been involved in lately have had a big focus on water resilience. And we've designed the first large settlement, that 800 home one I mentioned, and it's the first water neutral settlement in the UK. So that means it has no impact on water consumption in the area, basically. So being able to do that has meant we've had to sort of look at things quite differently and help coordinate other consultancies. And now a lot of the work that we're doing is actually helping coordinate and lead developments, not just from sort of a design perspective, but actually thinking, okay, right, what are the sort of key considerations or infrastructure requirements that might need to be? Where do we actually start thinking about laying them out early with other specialist consultants to make sure we're getting the most out of a site? So for instance, if it's a large development, do we look at sort of corridors running through the site as just highway corridors to move people, or do you start looking at them as also the corridors to then transfer water and then also transport pedestrians and all this kind of thing? And then how do you design that effectively to make it multifunctional to help deal with other sort of issues like biodiversity net gain and stuff, these new sort of policies which are coming in. And then off the back of that, we've also got involved a lot more in sort of, and now I wear another hat, advising a company called Water Offsets, where we've been looking at sort of actually how water use is done within the home and how we can reduce that and make that much more efficient. And with that company, we've now designed homes that only use 65 litres of water a day on average. The average in the UK is actually 160. And those are some of now the most efficient homes probably in the world in terms of water consumption. But we've also looked at it going back to this sort of wider perspective. How do we then not just save water, but make it more available? So how do we bring it back into the environment as well to help maintain ecological flows and all this kind of thing? Now, that has a lot of use in terms of planning and the process to help you through, because it's more sustainable. It's a much more interesting and more designed approach, but actually it means all your infrastructure is less, so you're saving a lot of money in the building stages. It gives you a much better narrative and story when you're going through the planning process that you're trying to do something different and be much more efficient. But then also you're tying those specialisms and sort of leaders together to come up with more innovative ideas sort of across the board. So it's about thinking about who's working beside you as much as sort of where you're going, and how do you take all those people with you through that approach to get something that really adds a lot of value. And on the water side, just to touch on it briefly, there's a really big opportunity for not just new projects, but also retrofit projects with some of these technologies we're bringing forward. For instance, if you own a gym or something like that, then actually you could really seriously cut your water consumption, which could actually save you a huge amount of money in bills as well. So it's not just about sort of water and nature, it's also about actually the economics of these things now makes a lot of sense. And that has to be part of the narrative and sort of guiding route to be able to deliver projects in a much more effective way, because they're multifunctional and there's multiple benefits for everybody.
Yeah. Plenty of differentiating factors in there.
Yeah, I hope so.
We might need to include well, we'll include a few sets of details down below this video so that people can wander off on the tangent that suits them best to find out more. So um, look for those based on what Niall's just said. Where's the business is going then over the next 3 to 5 years, Niall?
Well, I think
The aspirations.
we've had a very interesting sort of start to the business. We had quite a lot of hiccups, shall we say, out of our control with COVID and war with Russia impacting us in some ways. And then also the mini budget had a big impact on a lot of our sort of developer clients as well. So we've sort of built a lot of resilience into the business, which has made us very sort of agile and managed to keep our costs down a lot. But now we're sort of really looking at how do we build forward. So in the last year, we've hired a new director, Richard, who's fantastic and has really added a lot of experience and expertise to the business to expand into new sort of markets, bring new specialisms in as well, and really give us a much more robust sort of set of skills and team, which has been really integral. So now we've got him in, we really want to probably try and build up the capacity of the business probably a bit more, and sort of continue to sort of build our client base as well because of the nature of things that we can do. So help expand our outreach and sort of just build capacity, really, I think are going to be some of the core aims, but also looking at where we can sort of expand and integrate our services a bit more with some of these other people that we're already working with to offer this more holistic solution.
Yeah, great. Exciting times.
Yeah, very much so.
So what's been your biggest learning since you've been a business owner, would you say?
Well, I think for us, we set the business up as soon as we left university. So we finished university, set the business up pretty much straight away, and survived, basically, is the way I would put it. We sort of took our student loans and used that to sort of kickstart the business and help keep us afloat, because me and my business partner had worked whilst we were at university and sort of paid everything off. And then at the end, we thought, that's the best loan we'll ever get. So why not take that loan and start the business? So that's what we did. I think now if I was to approach setting up a business again, I would probably be more inclined to look for a bit more sort of financial support or something like that to be able to build capacity, not necessarily capacity, but the range of services and help streamline things better. Because anyone that set up their own business early on or had limited resources will know one of the biggest challenges is sort of finding the work and then actually delivering the work. Because when you're delivering the work, you're not finding new work, and then you finish that project and then, oh no, you're back to trying to find something again.
Yeah.
So something to smooth that process over and make it a bit more streamlined, I think for me would be really key for anyone looking to start a new business, but also something we would probably look to do quite differently.
Okay, great. Yeah, interesting. I think quite a lot of people watching this will be able to empathize with that you're talking about. Most definitely. I know that I've been there too. So it's the journey.
Pretty common problem, I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Okay, so what about the biggest challenge since you've been in business? You've alluded to some. Which would, if you had to isolate one, which would you pick, and how did you navigate it?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges for us, we've had two very big sort of issues that came up. First, it was COVID, because our business was maybe, I think, 4 months old when COVID hit, and we lost a lot of our contracts basically overnight. A lot of the projects, and we just sort of got to the point where we were starting to stand on our own 2 feet. So it really sort of knocked us back and was a big issue. But luckily, we'd kind of already allowed for that. So we weren't affected hugely by COVID. At the time, when we set the business up, we decided to sort of assume the worst case scenario anyway. So we sort of set out working from home. Everything we'd invested in was remote working. You know, we both lived together at university, so we were used to sort of talking online or whatever over the holidays or whatever it may be, mainly from playing games and things like that together. But you know, we sort of went, well, actually, why do we need to invest all this money in a property or an office or whatever it may be? So we managed to sort of insulate ourselves quite well to survive that. But we definitely had a few sort of quite strained months. But also we sort of then invested in a podcast series as well, which allowed us to sort of go and talk to people, meet more people in a different way virtually. And then also we looked at a lot of different, more sort of online marketing with direct messaging and things like that, opposed to sort of your traditional messaging, I suppose. because obviously there were no networking events. So that sort of managed to sort of let us sort of muddle through. The next big challenge we had was the mini budget. So a lot of people know that this caused a lot of turmoil, but a lot of our clients we were looking at just prior to that were being funded by big European investment funds. They were large projects. Yeah. And actually a lot of these European investors pulled all of their funding. So what happened was a lot of the big projects we had been looking at for maybe 6 months waiting to get to start got pulled or got stopped or frozen. And actually now, over a year later, some of them are only just starting to get going. So it's caused a huge lag in the sort of construction market, which also aligned itself perfectly to when we were hiring our new director, which obviously added a lot of cost and things to the business, but added a lot of experience and expertise that we needed. So, and we were really lucky that having him join helped us because it brought in a lot more work as well, and helped us offer some new services to existing clients, which they were very much interested in, which is part of the reason why we wanted him to join us. So we were lucky and unlucky in sort of at the same time, but that's allowed us as well, that sort of lull, to sort of help think about the business approach and strategy going forward, to again sort of think, right, things are not always going to be hunky-dory. Let's build in resilience, and let's make sure that actually we're always thinking, how can we do things the most efficient way? Yeah. What areas do we really want to target that are more robust, and that kind of thing. So yeah. It's always a learning curve, whatever you do, I think.
Always, absolutely. So with the benefit of that learning and some hindsight, if you were sitting having a conversation with your 18-year-old self, what would you say?
I'd probably say that's a really difficult one, because the thing I would say would be very controversial. I think I would say don't bother going to university. I think would be one, because I think, my experience of sort of the university system, my undergraduate was very good, but I think the cost and the time lost doing a master's, especially in what I did mine in, was just not worth it in any way. And I really have a dim view now of that system. So I think for me, I would certainly recommend to other people, as well as to my younger self, to maybe look at alternative ways, not to laden yourself with so much debt. And actually, in some ways, you end up still starting from square one when you actually go into the business world. So I have a very dim view of some of that system. I think, as I say, it's a lot of debt, it's a lot of time, and it can be incredibly frustrating. And actually, a lot of people I know lost motivation and just packed in before they'd even started. So I think it can be really damaging to some people. And I think if you've already got your head screwed on, you know where you want to go, you know what you're interested in, you'd probably pick it up quicker working, and you'd earn money at the same time and build a business. So you've got a lot more to end up with than just a piece of paper. So that would be one of my big controversial learning points. But then at the same time, I'm going to counter that as well, because the reality is you don't know what you don't know. I had a saying when I was at university, which was the most valuable thing about university is the time it gives you to do something else, which is actually precisely what I did. I took a very liberal view to university being something I had to sort of hand in every now and then, and the rest of my time I spent on boards. I got appointed to several very senior boards. I became the first non-chartered trustee of our profession during that time. I sat on advisory panels, leading as one of the heads of our profession before I'd even qualified for the Woodland Trust on some of their projects and things. And that sort of came about because I spent a lot of my time at university. Actually, not at university. I went on study tours instead of doing my dissertation, to America to look at how they were running serious projects out there. And I spent a lot of time working and sort of not scraping by, but sort of doing what I needed to get done to just get through university. And that really paid dividends. And if I hadn't have done that, the business wouldn't be where it was now, and I wouldn't have the knowledge and the skills I've got now. Whereas if I just stuck with university, I probably wouldn't be capable of doing what I did now. So, but university also allowed that to happen because I took that view. So there's sort of two very contrary points there, whereby I'm not sure what the right solution would be, but I think hopefully it's an interesting perspective for some other people as well that maybe have got kids or are looking to go to university themselves or whatever. I think you've really got to know what you want from something. And if it's not what you think it is, try and find an alternative way to make the most of your time there.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's really good. And that's the first time I've had this perspective in answer to that question. And I agree. So thank you for that.
No, you're welcome.
What's, if you were to isolate one piece of advice then out of all that learning, the linear stuff, the non-linear stuff, where you branched out and done all the other stuff, to give to other business owners watching this, what would your single piece of advice be, Niall?
I'd say for me, one of the most valuable things is lateral thinking. You know, really find the people that not necessarily doing exactly what you're doing, but are aligned in some way that you can support one another. So it might be a different business, but in some way integrates with what you're doing quite well or runs parallel to you. Find someone like that that you can work with really, really well. One, because they might be able to send work your way, like any good client would be, but they might not be the most obvious person to approach. Because then you can support each other, and also it creates opportunity for more integration and collaboration, which is precisely what sort of led our business to develop really effectively. And I've just got a very quick couple of examples of this. One is another landscape architecture consultancy. We started off very early on when we first set up the business, you know, with a little bit of trepidation. It was our first time going into like the really big working world on our own, not as part of a wider company. And we sort of decided to help offer them technical services. And we ended up delivering nearly all of their projects for them on a technical basis, which freed them up to look at the stuff they wanted to do, which was the design focused stuff, the really creative stuff. Okay, that doesn't necessarily help you build so much of your own portfolio in a way, but actually it gave us a really important lifeline as we were building the business. We did get access to a portfolio because we've been involved in all these really interesting projects, but also it meant that we were sort of understanding, and we got to see how they were running their business and get some ideas and things from that too. So it really helped us sort of get our heads straight in terms of what we wanted to do. And since then we've collaborated with them on, I don't know, maybe 20 projects. So we've done quite a lot of different things with them, and some of them have been award-winning or really quite well-renowned ones too. And then the other one is, I guess, the water company. So, you know, this is something that we never really expected to sort of be involved in, but just that kind of thinking about how do we take these sort of new technologies and these new ideas and how do we integrate them with what we're doing has now led to us working on some of these really world-class projects, looking at things all around the world. You know, we've been in multiple countries, and I think I had 20 flights last year, which I had none planned at the start of the year. So it's just amazing how different a direction it can take you in. And that, again, creates a huge range of opportunities and different ideas, not just for your business, but for yourself and all these kind of things as well in terms of personal development. So, and you get to see things from a different perspective as well, which is also very helpful. So again, just to reiterate, for me, I think lateral thinking, understanding what else is going on around you and who around you might be able to partner with and can help take you forward, has been really valuable for me. And it's allowed, especially for our business, because it's kind of already got that sort of thinking by its nature. But it's really allowed us to sort of expand and do very new and interesting things.
Great advice. Thank you. So the last thing to sort of head us towards a wrap up here is you've alluded to a couple of different ways in to find out more about you. Some might be more relevant than others to people who are watching. So what are the best next steps? Obviously, website and contact details are sitting below this video, but over to you to explain the best next steps to find out more, really.
Yeah, well, I guess it depends on who you are and what you're doing. So if you're a developer or you're working in property, NDLA would be really interested to help you. We can help you through the planning process and your development projects. We're very good early on because we can help identify risk, mitigate risk. And we work with a very wide range of consultants and are even doing some joint ventures now with potential property investors or developers. So we're there to sort of help you in a really wide range of ways to sort of spread the risk or support you however you might like it. And then on the water side, so this is Water Offsets. This is another company I'm advising on. And we're really doing a lot in terms of reducing water consumption for end users. So this might be your own personal house or a gym or a hotel or anywhere where you're using a lot of water or you've got showers and things. And what this company does, I won't talk too much about it because we've been sort of alluding to it really, and it's a whole nother conversation. But we're doing a huge amount on sustainability on that front. And actually some of these technologies, like some of the new showers we have, they can actually save about 96,000 litres of water a year compared to a normal shower. Okay, great. That's a lot of water. From an environmental perspective, it's fantastic. But actually from an economic perspective, compared to a conventional shower, that equates to about 650 to 850 pounds a year in energy saving per shower,
right,
per single person home. So actually, if you've got a big family, if you've got a gym where there's multiple showers being used a day, actually the cost savings are astronomical. And there's been some pilots done with the MOD, which are predicted to save them, I think, about £1 million a year in energy just by one barracks being upgraded. So if you've got a big network there, that's a really fantastic opportunity for those people. So from the design of new settlements, new projects, new businesses, whatever, we can really help in quite a myriad of ways. So yeah, please do check us out.
Great. So all of those details will sit below this video for you to go find out more. Cheers. Brilliant. Niall, thank you for sharing your insights with us today, and the best of luck with all the ventures that you're involved in going forward.
Thank you very much.
Good to meet you.
Cheers.